top story this hour, the Big Sky Conference is postponing all fall sports to the spring of 2021. The decision by the conference's President's Council impacts all Big Sky sports that compete in the fall for their championship season and non-championship segment. The council also confirmed non-conference contests will not be permitted in any Big Sky fall sport, including football. This news comes after the 2020 conference football schedule was postponed until the spring on August 6th. Commissioner Tom Wistrcill said he's confident the conference is making the right decision for the health and safety of student athletes, but it's heartbreaking knowing the disappointment they will experience after anticipating the opportunity to compete this fall. Now they will focus on making the spring season the best it can be. Well, come the first day of school, students across Montana will be wearing a face mask to class. Governor Steve Bullock made the announcement Wednesday afternoon. Bullock ordered all Montana public and private schools to require them in counties with 4 or more active COVID-19 cases. Bullock announced the directive and implored Montanans to continue to follow state and federal guidelines.
Every week I've been on a call since this started with the Vice President and the Coronavirus Task Force. And every week over the last 7 or 8, they've talked about how you safely stay open, or how you open schools, or reopen schools. And consistently, time and time again, they've said that masks have to be part of that equation.
And today we're seeing 142 new COVID-19 cases in Montana. Once again, Yellowstone County sees the highest number of new cases at 37, with another new death. The number of cases continue to grow in Phillips County, where just until last week there were no reported cases of the virus. So far, the Treasure State has seen more than 5,400 cases. COVID-19 has claimed 81 lives in Montana. The governor is also rolling out a new program to help keep the live entertainment venues alive amid the pandemic. Bullock consulted Montana business owners, including Sean Lynch of the Pub Station, to put the plan in place. Lynch said his popular Billings venue lost more than 100% of revenue between April and June because of the ticket refunds he's had to pay back. To apply for the grants, businesses must make at least a third of their profit from ticket sales. Lynch said the grants are a lifeline and will keep the Pub Station going well into next year.
Not only have we not been taking any income, but we've been paying out a tremendous amount in refunds as well. I didn't want to turn the Pub Station into condos. We want to continue to be able to provide live entertainment to Billings, Montana, because that's what we do best.
Lynch estimates about 30 live entertainment venues across the state could be eligible for the grants. And turning to health news, the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services recommends people get a flu shot during September or October this year. Influenza vaccines are now appearing at pharmacies in Montana. With no immediate end in sight for the COVID pandemic, health experts say it's more important than ever to get your flu shot this year. Any flu season has the chance of stressing the healthcare system with related hospitalizations, but combined with COVID-19, it could overburden healthcare workers.
It's going to be really important this year, as we move into a flu season where we're really trying to protect ourselves, but more importantly, getting a flu vaccine can help protect those around us. And so I would encourage everyone to do it, even if you feel like you don't get sick every year or you've never had the flu. Consider those around you and taking that flu vaccine to help protect everyone else.
DPHHS says anyone over 6 months old should get their flu shot this year if they're able. Well, now we turn to the Weather Center for the latest on the forecast with Rob and for Ed today. Good afternoon.
Well, hello, Victoria. Dry and warm, and that's August weather. But what's it look like for the 6 to 10 day outlook? Well, we have the latest information for you. This takes us all the way through August 18th through 22nd. It will be warmer than average in our neck of the woods up here in the Pacific Northwest and the western U.S. Interestingly, cooler than average the eastern half of the United States, quite a bit cooler down there in the southern plains. As far as our precipitation is concerned, much drier than average across most of the United States, leaning a little bit wetter in the southeast, but of course for Montana and Wyoming, slightly drier than average. That's the expectations right now. We do still have some red flag fire warnings in the area, not necessarily in Montana. We'll take a look at the complete forecast in just a little bit. Victoria?
Thank you, Rob. On to Fire Watch. The Bear Creek fire southwest of Dillon exploded to 1,500 acres in just 24 hours. It's burning in a very remote part of the Beaverhead National Forest. Firefighters say it's a challenging fire to fight. There aren't many roads, and windy conditions made battling flames through the air too dangerous. Eventually, on Wednesday, 2 planes and 4 helicopters were able to dump water onto the fire. Officials expect it to grow as weather conditions and an abundance of fuels continue to feed the flames. At a livestock auction in Vaughan, animal rescue groups from across the state gathered to save 38 horses from being slaughtered. The horses, along with 15 goats, were auctioned off at Western Livestock Auction on Wednesday. Hooves of Promise, a horse rescue group based in Arlee, is one of several nonprofits gathering donations over the past few weeks to save the horses. The animals originally belonged to a woman in Choteau County who was charged with 3 counts of felony aggravated animal cruelty in July. The Choteau County attorney and deputy undersheriff told MTN it was not the first time the woman had been charged with the felony. During the pandemic, horse rescue groups around the state have experienced a decrease in donations, but the president and founder of Hooves of Primrose told MTN the pandemic hasn't kept her from doing everything she can to save the horses. In campus news, it's move-in week at the University of Montana. The college ditched the traditional move-in day format, extending it out to maintain social distancing. The school is reducing the number of students on a floor from 40 to 30. Nearly 1,300 students will be living in 8 residence halls. Classes begin next Wednesday. In Bozeman, today will mark day 4 of move-in week at Montana State. Yesterday, the university's president showed up to welcome the new students. She says she's hopeful everyone will make it through the semester safely, but just in case, the university has plans in place for students that may have to quarantine. Classes at MSU begin on Monday. And some students have already moved into dorms and apartments at Carroll College. Classes begin next week. The university is taking steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in residence halls and classrooms. The college has 10 testing centers set up so students can be tested. All on-campus students must be tested. The turnaround time for results is averaging 24 to 48 hours. There's also isolation rooms for any students who test positive. Each classroom will be at half capacity, socially distanced, and cleaned in between each use by faculty and staff. Well, we have more ahead on the new news. Hope on the horizon for our nation's jobless. We'll tell you what the newest numbers are showing us after the break. The time is now 12:07, but first, Rob's in for Ed, and he's up next with your statewide weather forecast.
Gusty winds along with any showers or thunderstorms that might roll through, and some warmer than average temperatures. Meanwhile, across Montana, we've got waves of clouds moving through as we've got some unsettled weather, but for the most part it's dry. There haven't really been too many showers since last night's thunderstorms that rolled through, but that could change a little bit later on today. At the moment, we're looking at very comfortable temperatures. I'm going to call them mild for this time of year, especially in wake of yesterday. 62 right now at Butte, 64 up at Kalispell. Kalispell dropped down to 38 degrees this morning. Wow! 6 degrees above freezing. I don't know why that impresses me in August, but it just does. 80 degrees out here at Miles City. We're out here in the Northeast. They were north of 100 degrees. Take a look for yourself. Wolf Point was 102 yesterday, very close to 100 degrees from Glasgow, Jordan, over to Miles City, Sheridan, Wyoming, 97. And meanwhile, yesterday, one of the more comfortable locations, Kalispell, right there on the Flathead at 70 degrees. Winds this hour, really not too much of an issue unless you're up toward Cutbank. There's some 25-mile-an-hour gusts. We've also got a few gusts up here in northeastern Montana and northwestern North Dakota. Light and variable elsewhere, but winds will pick up as passing showers and thunderstorms occur later on today, and that can happen pretty much across most of the state later on this afternoon and this evening. It's going to start out here in the west, and toward the evening hours later in the night, some of those storms will start to pop up off the southwestern mountains in Montana. Let's pull back a little bit and show you where we're going here with all of this. We do have a passing cold front that's already worked its way through the state. That's why there's a chance for some severe thunderstorms out here in extreme eastern Montana, but also into the Dakotas. And the chance for the extreme weather has eked in a little bit further this morning into eastern Montana. We've also got the red flag fire warnings in place, so there's still a little bit of volatility there. Cooler temperatures overall today, and that high pressure is going to kind of keep that cold front from loping down too far. Meanwhile, we got warmer temperatures on the way, so we'll begin to warm up as we head into the weekend. Probably the first half of the weekend is going to be pretty comfortable, and then Sunday we start to warm up. By Friday evening, that severe weather has shifted a couple of states over toward Minnesota and southward, and we start to dry out and warm up, and things begin to clear up rather nicely. But today and this evening could be kind of a bumpy time for some thunderstorms, especially out here in eastern Montana and portions of northeastern Wyoming. Let's take a quick look around the state today. You see the red flag fire warnings. You can see where the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms has reached into eastern Montana. This is a higher chance of participation of those thunderstorms. 77 today for Bozeman, 73 for Butte, and some afternoon showers and thunderstorms, as you can see, will fire up a little bit later on. As we move toward tonight, most of the thunderstorm activity is going to calm down. We're going to be dropping down to the 30s and 40s and even the 50s. And then as we edge into tomorrow, another mild day, mild temperatures for us. Most temperatures are going to be reading into the 80s. Let's take a quick look at our extended forecasts for Kalispell and Missoula. You notice 80 degrees on the way for Friday, 85 in Kalispell on Saturday, so it will warm up. For Great Falls and Helena, we've got the 70s and 80s. As we move toward the extended forecast portion, you notice we're going to warm back up starting the work week into the 90s. Bozeman and Butte, maybe just a little bit cooler today, start to warm up going into the weekend, and that's going to be a steady trend. For the work week, 90s all the way around. And Glendive and Billings, the same situation. We'll be in the 80s through the first part of the weekend. By the time we hit the Sunday and the first part of the work week, back to the 90s. Victoria?
Thank you, Rob. The director for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is urging Americans to follow public health measures. Dr. Robert Redfield says if people don't wear a mask, social distance, and wash their hands and be smart about crowds, this could be the worst fall in U.S. public health history. Redfield also wants Americans to get the flu vaccine this year. He says the CDC is prepared with 10 million doses for uninsured adults. Usually there's only 500,000. As for the coronavirus vaccine, Redfield says he is cautiously optimistic there will be one by the start of 2021. Several vaccine candidates are now in phase 3 trials. Some encouraging news for the economy. The new jobs report shows first-time jobless claims fell below 1 million for the first time since March. The Labor Department said 963,000 Americans filed for first-time unemployment benefits last week. That is the lowest number of weekly initial claims since the pandemic shut down the U.S. economy. Experts say it means people keep returning to work. However, the continued jobless claims number, which counts for people who have filed for unemployment benefits at least 2 weeks in a row, remains high. That number is 15.5 million. Coronavirus relief aid from Washington may not be coming until the fall. Negotiations have all but come to a halt on Capitol Hill. The White House and Congress are still disagreeing on major funding for reopening schools and launching a national strategy for containing the virus. The House and Senate are also essentially closed at this point for their August recess. They return in September. Well, stay with us. Your latest ACT news is coming up next.
It's time for your Farm and Ranch news. Well, livestock organizations like the National Cattlemen's Beef Association are applauding the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's announcement this week of a new 30-day extension to the hours of service exemption for U.S. livestock and feed haulers. Allison Rivera is the NCBA's Executive Director of Government Affairs and says, while it is a win for the U.S. cattle industry, more still needs to be done.
The message that we continue to push and that even members of Congress have mentioned very recently is that right now, more so than ever, we need flexibility in hauling livestock. We need flexibility in order to get those backlogs down and make sure that we can put product on the grocery store shelves, which is what people are still looking for. So we continue to work on the ELD delay through the approach process.
And she says the NCBA will continue to work with Congress as well as the Trump administration to find a permanent fix for hours of service regulations. In the meantime, though, the most recent 30-day extension was set to expire on Friday, August 14th, but with this week's announcement, the exemption now runs through September the 14th. Well, stay with us. We'll have more ag news right after this. USDA released its August crop production and world supply and demand estimate reports. And for wheat, USDA estimated all wheat production at 1.84 billion bushels, up 1% from a month ago. Winter wheat production is now forecast at 1.2 billion bushels, a slight decrease from July. Other spring wheat was forecast at 577 million bushels, up 27 million bushels from July, while durum production was estimated at 61.8 million bushels, up 5.8 million bushels. As for corn, USDA now expects U.S. farmers to harvest a record 15.3 billion bushels, up 12% from a year ago. And at 4.42 billion bushels, U.S. soybean production came in under the record crop of 2018-2019 by just 3 million bushels. And finally today, it looks like the two leaders of the House Agriculture Committee, Chairman Colin Peterson out of Minnesota and Ranking Member Mike Conaway of Texas, have sent a letter to Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue calling on USDA to examine the structure of the cattle industry along with price discovery and issues related to price reporting, as well as the level of concentration within the cattle industry. Now, livestock experts say, on the surface, the letter demonstrates the committee's serious attempt to address several questions going on with the cattle industry these days. Now, the congressmen want USDA to commission a long-term study and even hold workshops, much like the Obama administration did a decade ago. Those USDA and Justice Department hearings, the first joint effort like that in history, culminated in an extensive, heated, day-long hearing on the state of the cattle markets in Fort Collins, Colorado in August of 2010. Well, that's a look at your farm and ranch news. Have a great day.
Thank you, Russell. After 13 years of dating and waiting, two 91-year-old Northwest Montanans tied the knot. Jerry Serdat first laid eyes on her now husband, Ivan O'Neill, in elementary school in Kalispell. Ivan says he's always kept an eye on her as a special someone. At the time, she lived right down the street. Both Serdea and O'Neill shared similar friends and reconnected in high school, and both went on to marry other people. Unfortunately, Serdea's husband passed away in 2005, and O'Neill's wife passed a year later. In 2007, it was a chance meeting at Coffee Traders in Columbia Falls that reconnected them. In business news, Missoula's mall is under construction, making room for new stores. Shields in Missoula will take over more than 100,000 square feet. The sporting goods store plans to be open by next year. According to a Missoula Shields Facebook page, this location will be the 30th in the country. The mall is also getting a new sushi and ramen restaurant this month, and Lululemon is set to open next month near H&M and Victoria's Secret. Noodle Express is moving to a new location and should be open by next month as well. Shields, a great store.
Oh yeah, love Shields.
Yes,
love hanging out there.
All right, let's get one last quick look at weather.
Okay, well, careful place to hang out later today would be eastern Montana. You notice that enhanced chance for strong to severe thunderstorms this afternoon and this evening. Fire weather warnings all across Wyoming. Otherwise, cloudy skies and garden variety thunderstorms, which could agitate any fires. Let's just be extra careful out there, but let's enjoy the mild afternoon high temperatures today and watch out for thunderstorms this evening.
Yep, all great ideas.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob. Have a great day.